All right, let's look at another conceptual aside. We've already looked at asynchronous execution and libuv, but we said in this section we'd also talk about streams and buffers. Well, what are we talking about? Big word alert. A buffer, a temporary holding spot for data. And that data usually is being moved from one place to another. So as we're moving data, the buffer is where we put data as we go. We store it there, and it's temporary. We'll move data into a buffer, then move it out, and move new data into a buffer. But it's really just a spot in memory. And it's intentionally limited in size. We don't want to take too long moving the data, and so the buffer is there simply to allow us to gather some data and then move it along. Gather some data and then move it along. Gather some data and move it along. And so the data sitting in the buffer is all the buffer can hold. It will have a limited size. And generally, this data is coming and moving through, usually, what's called a stream. Big word alert. Stream. A sequence of data made available over time. And that sequence are pieces of data that eventually combine into something whole. So, just like a river or a stream, water flows down it, data is flowing through a stream. Now, it's not a real stream, it's what we call it, the sequence of data moving over time. So, for example, a stream over the internet might move at different speeds depending on how fast your internet connection is. But it's data being moved, being passed from one computer to another or from one process to another within the computer. And we have this data moving, this sequence, this stream, and we're usually processing it as we go, instead of perhaps trying to wait for all the data. For example, when you stream a movie over the internet, the movie streams, you don't download the entire movie. If you download the movie, that takes a long time. But if you stream the movie, you are downloading the whole movie, but you're downloading it as it comes, and you're watching it as it comes. So you're processing the data as the sequence of data is moving. You're watching the video as the video is being downloaded. So that's the idea of a stream. The stream is data moving, and usually we're processing it in some way. We're gathering it, we're reading it, we're making decisions based on it, or we're storing it. But the stream runs, and we look at the stream, something processes it, and maybe gathers it, and then does something with it. And a lot of times, we actually are combining the idea of a stream and a buffer. Data comes down the stream, a certain amount of data is gathered into the buffer, and then that is processed. And then it happens again as we continue to get data until the stream is done, until the data that's trying to be streamed is complete, and then it can be processed. This is just like when you're streaming a video, the same idea, the exact same concept, and it says buffering. What is it doing? It's gathering enough data for it to continue watching and processing the video. So it's buffering data and then allows you to process it, to watch it as it continues to stream. So when we talk in general in Node about streams and buffers, it's the idea of data being streamed, a bit of data at a time, a little bit of data at a time, and buffers, areas in memory, which hopefully aren't too big, that will take a certain amount of data and then allow us to process it as it comes from the stream in chunks. All right, so that's the idea of a stream and a buffer. Let's move on.